The prosecution also made a big deal about him saying, "I don't remember," nearly 1,800 times.
Yes, 1788 times, mostly about case 1000 and 2000. His retort was basically that his memory isn't selective, but that these questions were often about tiny details from years ago.
Right, understandable perhaps. Okay, let's hit case 4000, the Wallow website case. The defense strategy here seems to be undermining the whole bribery idea, isn't it?
Absolutely. They're going hard after the credibility of the main witness, former Wallow CEO Ilan Yeshua. They claim he committed perjury.
How? By showing he did similar things for other politicians.
Exactly. They presented evidence suggesting Yeshua had these open channel and gave positive coverage to lots of other politicians, and not just allies, people from the left and right. They named names: Herzog, Acunis, Lieberman, Bennett, Gabay.
The point being, if everyone was doing it, why single out Netanyahu?
That's precisely the narrative. And apparently, Netanyahu got quite heated about this in court.
Yeah, reports said he banged the table, said something like, "My lord, politicians and media people interact all the time."
Which perfectly sums up the defense strategy. Frame this as normal political media relations, not bribery, and paint the case against him as, a personal vendetta or politically motivated.
So trying to normalize his actions by showing they weren't unique.
Right, making it harder to argue his interactions were uniquely criminal if others did similar things and faced no investigation.
How did the prosecution respond to that?
They argued, well, those other interactions might show positive articles, but not outright bribery like they allege with Netanyahu.
And the defense?
They fired back pretty strongly, saying, look, countless similar instances weren't investigated, and they claim relevant defense materials were even kept from. So, accusations of unequal treatment.
This cross-examination phase, then, it really is the crucial moment for the prosecution, the money time.
Oh, absolutely. This is their chance to poke holes, find contradictions, shake his testimony, and undermine that whole defense narrative we just discussed.
And there's that critical rule about not talking to lawyers once it starts.
Yeah, that's huge. Once cross-examination begins, the defendant cannot discuss the case at all with their lawyer. Not even one quick question between sessions.
Why is that? To prevent coaching?
Essentially, yeah, to prevent any contamination of the test. But it puts enormous pressure on the defendant.
I can imagine, especially in these complex white-collar cases stretching back.
It's a massive material difficulty, as lawyers put it, recalling every nuance, every detail under pressure without being able to quickly consult your counsel.
And that anecdote Netanyahu shared really drives that home, doesn't it? Having to cut short a call with the U.S. Secretary of State late at night.
Right, like 10 or 11 p.m. because he had to prep for cross-examination the next day. He said the secretary couldn't believe it.
It just shows the incredible pressure cooker he's in.
It does. And despite all that, Netanyahu's position remained. He consulted with his lawyers like any suspect would, and coordinating times with a PM is just routine. It highlights that constant clash between his job and the court's demand.
So stepping back, looking at the bigger picture, it really feels like this trial is more than just legal proceedings now. It's become a major political event.
That's a very common view, yes.
Yeah.
The legal arguments are almost secondary sometimes to the political implications.
And how's that playing out internationally, especially with the war?
There's concern it's damaging Israel's image. Some argue it's a shame, making Netanyahu look like a dictator under siege, suggesting internal division during a critical time.
And you mentioned that comment by former PM Olmert suggesting Netanyahu should be in The Hague.
Yeah, that was cited as an example of how public figures, even former leaders, can potentially harm the national image with inflammatory statements like that during wartime.
And all this is happening while Israel is facing, existential threats, the multi-front war, soldiers dying daily, and this Haredi conscription crisis. Can you quickly explain that crisis?
Sure. It's a really deep-seated issue about whether ultra-Orthodox men should be required to do military service like most other Israelis. Traditionally, many have been exempt for religious study.
But the pressure is mounting now.
Hugely, especially with the war needing more soldiers. The current crisis is because the ultra-Orthodox political parties in Netanyahu's coalition are refusing to back a new conscription law because it doesn't have strong enough sanctions, personal or institutional ones, for those who don't serve.
And the courts are involved in this too.
Yes, court rulings have added another layer of complexity, making this political knot, as you called it, even tighter. It shows how the judiciary is increasingly getting drawn into or stepping into major national political dispute.
Which brings us back to the trial. Is the PM's time being wasted on things like, the Bugs Bunny details when these huge national issues are ongoing?
That's certainly an argument you hear a lot, that the trial weakens him. It's a blow to governance because it pulls his focus and time away from leading the country through these crises.
A diversion of critical resources, essentially.
That's the perspective, yes.
Yeah.
That his time and energy are finite and should be focused entirely on national security and governance right now.
How is the Israeli public taking all this in? Is the trial front page news every day?
It varies. Some reports suggest certain news channels kind of ignored the trial until this cross-examination phase really heated up. Others, like the more pro-Netanyahu Channel 14, say they've covered it consistently.
So divided media attention reflecting divided public opinion.
Seems likely. Public views on the trial's fairness and what the outcome might be appear very split. You have people convinced he'll be totally exonerated, and others deeply skeptical about the justice system's neutrality here.
Which raises that fundamental question about the balance of power, doesn't it? Is this the judiciary asserting its authority, maybe over the will of the voters?
That's a core tension being debated. Does the judiciary have the right or duty to pursue this regardless of electoral mandates or the current national situation? Or is it overreach? It really depends on your view of the institutions and their roles.
Wow. Okay, that's a lot to process.
Yeah.
We've hit the trial's pace, the memorable Bugs Bunny moment in Case 1000, the details of 2000 and 4000, the pressures of cross-examination.
That all set against this backdrop of war and the Haredi crisis. It's incredibly complex.
Yeah, it's clearly way more than just a legal case playing out.
It's law, politics, national security, societal divisions, all tangled together.
Exactly. So it leaves us with this thought, doesn't it? For a democracy like Israel facing such immense challenges, what's the real cost of these long, highly politicized legal battles against its leader?
And what does it ultimately say about the balance of power between government branches and maybe even about national priorities?
A huge question, something to long